Welcome to Introduction to Whitebox Learning Engineering Top Profile. We have now previously done the blank and body setup, the upper profile, the lower profile, and on this video we are going to talk about the top profile. So what I want to do is all those previous profiles we've done, everything has stayed in the design because you can do all this design, just go one right to the other to the other. So my blank setup is still set up. My upper profile, if I turn on my eye in the upper profile, you'll see the profile I designed. In the lower profile, you'll see the profile that we designed here in the last time. And again, I want to make sure I turn on my front axle so I know where that is. I want to turn on my rear axle so I know where that is. And now this is what we have so far. You can kind of see how we have a car set up, or a dragster set up. Everything above this line gets cut out and everything below this line gets cut away. And so you can kind of see what the design of the car is going to look like. So we are now going to go with top profile. So when we go to the top profile, same thing goes, except now because when I do upper profile and lower profile, I can leave these both on so we can see how we match them up and stuff like that. When I go to top profile, I want to shut these off because then these lines will show up and they will tend to get a little confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my upper and turn off my lower. They're still around, they just aren't shown right now. I'm going to turn on my top profile, and now notice this line just kind of appears right here. Again, just like the previous two profiles, a line appears that we're going to get rid of. Now I'm going to turn my top profile tools on, and you're going to notice one thing. It rotated the block 90 degrees, so now you are looking at the bottom of the car or the top of the car based on how your perspective you want to do it. You still have a grid shown up. The grid for length is still 0 to 304.8, but the grid for width is slightly different. You'll notice 0 is in the middle of the car or the dragster, and it goes to 20.635 on the outer edge, and then it goes to 20.635 on that outer edge. That's reason why we'll do that. Will come up in a little bit here as I go and talk about this. So just know that 0 is down the middle now. Okay, 0 is down the middle. Again, you do not want to design all the way to our outside or our farthest edge over here. And again, we have a previous number that we set up from the other one, so we'll talk about that again when we start designing this. And you do not want to go all the way to the outer edge except in certain places. So here's that line that appeared. We're going to get rid of that by deleting that, and that line disappears. And notice we have the same tools up here again, and all the processes are exactly the same as the upper profile and the lower profile, except now we're just going to work as if you were looking at this car from a helicopter looking down to the top of the car. So what I always do, it doesn't matter if you want to design from the bottom or design from the top, but what you're going to do is you're going to start here again. When you're on the left side, you pick all the way to the left side of this on that dotted line. And you also want to make sure that when you do this, that you are still 4 millimeters away from this CO2 dragster hole, because you have to maintain that distance. So I'm going to draw out to here, and let's just say I'm going to go a little bit farther than the hole right here, and I make a dot. Notice now it drew a line, but the other thing it did is now you have a grade line here. It mirrored the line you just drew. So what you don't have to do is you don't have to draw one side and then try to redraw the exact same thing, just mirroring it on the other side. It will automatically mirror it for you. So you just draw one side and it automatically does the other side for you. So you don't have to worry about that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look here, and my outside edge of my CO2 cartridge looks to be at about 10 millimeters, and where my dot is here is at 14. So that's as close as I can get it. This one's a little bit farther away. I think that's 16. Okay, and now we're just going to go through and design the rest of the upper profile or the top profile for us. Now, remember in the lower profile, you had to be below the axle holes. Here's our axles right here. Oops, I did not want to do that. I'm going to remove that dot. Our axles are right here and here. Okay, so what we want to do is we need to have the car as wide as the block of wood, and the block of wood is from dotted line to dotted line. We need to have the car as wide as the block of wood where the axle hole goes out. So just like we drew in the lower profile, you're going to make a point behind, oops, I got to go here. You're going to make a point behind the axle and in front of the axle. So now this line should be exactly on the dotted line right here. Okay, and again, notice everything is mirroring up here as we go. And then you can come back in and you can come back up here. Now, it doesn't matter over here that you're within 4 millimeters of this, so I can go inside a little closer. You do not want to make the car too thin here, just like you don't want to make the car too thin between your upper and lower profile as well. And then you can just go through and make your car, and then again, right here, you're going to want to put a dot behind the axle, and you're going to want to put a dot in front of the axle. Now, the other thing I want to point out is, remember in the lower profile video, we noted the distance that we ended the car in the upper and lower profile. That distance, if you don't remember, was 253 millimeters in this particular example. I want to make sure that I end my car in the top profile at the same distance, 253. If I go too far, nothing lines up. If I go too short, nothing lines up. Notice I'm not meeting this one. I don't have to meet this one. This means I'm going to have a little nose in front that's going to be a little flat nose. If I wanted them to meet, I certainly could make it meet, and I could point it out here and get it all the way to 0, and then just make sure I'm at 253 when I'm at 0, and I could have now a point out there, you know, or whatever you want. And again, you can readjust however you need to adjust, however it works. Just like we did the lower profile, make sure you always pull this down, and this one down, and this one down, and this one down, so we know that this line is on the dotted line, this line is on the dotted line. And one thing I should have mentioned in the lower profile and the upper profile too is these last ones here, you should actually always try to pull them back just to make sure that they are all the way back too. So in the upper and lower profiles, if you haven't done that, go back and make sure that those are. So this is what my car would look like from the top view. And you can see the other side, it's mirrored exactly to this side right here. So I'm going, okay, that's what I want. That's kind of where I'm going to start my design. I can do any modification to this after I do this. So you're not 100% set on everything in this place. If you go and save everything here, you are going to make modifications to this, and that is no problem. So again, pull these down, pull these back, make sure your axle holes are visible, kind of get what you want in there. Remember to apply and to done everything. And now you notice after you've done, all this stuff disappeared on this side. Don't worry about it. It's going to still be there when you look at your car. Okay, it'll still be there when you look at your car. So now you kind of want to say, well, what does my car really look like? Okay, what is it going to really look like? Well, right now it really kind of looks goofy, and if I open these up, it's just a bunch more lines, and if I turn on a tool over here, I just got a bunch more lines with another line. You really don't have anything to look at that's really decent. So what I do, you want to do, is you're going to shut all these off. Okay, and then what we do is I would go to the refined solid. Okay, don't worry about rough solid. Refined solid is going to be so much nicer to work with. So go to refined solid and turn on your eyeball for refined solid. And what it's going to do, it's now going to show you, hey, this is what your car looks like. And you can take your free rotate button And now you can see what your car looks like from the back, where you see a CO2 cartridge hole. You can see your axles coming out of your car. You can see what it looks like from the bottom, from the top, from any angle. You can look at it and go, hey, that's a pretty cool looking car. I like it. That's what I want to be at. Okay, or whatever it may be. And if you want, you can rotate through it the different angles that it's going to give you, and this is what it looks like from the front view, and so on and so forth. That is so you can just get a good idea or a good example of what your car really does look like in that. And if you don't want the block on there, you can turn the eyeball off the block, and just makes it a little bit easier to look at. That's also true. So with that, that now covers all your profiles and how to draw your profiles and stuff like that. So thank you for watching. Please proceed with the next steps as assigned by your instructor.